Started.
So I'm talking to Adam Boyden, who's one of the two Liberal Democrat candidates standing for Frome North in the Somerset Unitary elections on May the 5th. I've known Adam quite a long while. In fact, he's been a district councillor for some 14 years.
11.
11,
11.
okay.
It seems like 14.
Putting years on him. It's a big thing to commit for another 5 years as a Somerset Unitary councillor. What prompted you to do that?
Well, none of us really know what we're letting ourselves in for yet, because the arrangements haven't been made for committees and the local community network and so on, but we have a rough idea. I did think about, whether maybe I should step down or not stand again and just carry on for a year at Mendip and see what happens. But then there's some issues I want to pursue still. There's a few loose ends and some problems and issues coming up which I'd like to carry on working on, because I think I have an angle on them that maybe others don't so much. I quite like being a councillor because it means you can help people, and it's actually an official role. So I think what Paddy Ashdown used to say, he likes advocating for people. I think I can identify with that, because not everybody has a voice as big as they should in a process, and there's always a need to confront situations and help people out. I've come across a few things like that where the authorities weren't listening, and they wouldn't listen until you make a big fuss, and then they listen, and then you get what you want, and then people get what they need. So there's a few things like that. I mean, there's a sewage works in Frome which is causing a fly nuisance, hasn't been sorted out. I'm having a real go at it now, but need to see it through. And if I'm elected councillor for that area of Frome, then I'll be able to, more than if I'm not. And if I run out in a year, then if it carries on, I won't be able to help them really anymore. There's obviously things like highways and planning, which are, to be honest, most important, most time-consuming matters for county and district, and eventually they'll be combined. And it's an uncertainty what the new council will look like. Certainly politically, we don't know yet, because that's what the election's for. But how administratively, how it would work. Will it be more centralising? Will it be more devolving? Will local parishes and towns have more say in how this council, the new council, works for them, and the existing county council as well for a year? Or will they have less say, and will it be more centralised? Because less councillors, to be honest, means less voice for local people, unless those councillors make a big fuss, have a big voice, and know what they're doing from day one to some extent. So I'm thinking, I know what I'm doing. I have experience of 11 years at Mendip. I've had 18 months at town council a while ago, but I know how parishes work to some extent. Obviously, I haven't been a road parish councillor, but it does help to have the experience. And I probably actually, of those standing for here, I'm one of the most experienced people standing now. I'm probably the most experienced, which is it's a scary thought. But no pressure then. So yeah, I've got almost a responsibility to do what I can, where I can, and for whoever needs help. And I see situations that need sorting out.
It sounds
even now.
You've got a whole range of issues that you want to battle on. What would be the two key ones if you were asked to identify the two major things that you feel are important for you in this campaign?
Well, there's more than two, of course, but I think social services to some extent has been neglected at county. We've seen the current administration take a beacon council, which was left to them by the LibDems many years ago, 12, 13 years ago, 14 years ago. A beacon council for social service for children's services. It was recognised as one of the best in the country. Within a few years, the cuts and reorganisations had left it failing in what you might call special measures, and that's affecting the most vulnerable people we've got in the county. Children in care, children who've been abused by their parents, neglected. They need all the help they can get, yet their service is failing them, and that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It shouldn't be acceptable to anyone to take a good service and turn it into a bad one for the most vulnerable people. Equally, adult social care, there's people and carers. Carers are waiting too long, as I understand it, for assessments. And then the service is so overstretched that people assessing them are kind of wanting to not help as much as they should. And these, again, are the most vulnerable people we've got. Also, social housing. Social housing is not being pursued by the government, of course. There's obviously issues on some sites where there's ecological issues, or there is already a community open space, which we've fought to protect. But there are other places and other ways of providing social housing where again, there's a big waiting list in Frome and the villages, and the people who need these services, and it may not be most people, but that for a better society, we all want a more just and equal society. You've got to pay attention and fund these services that much better. You could say the same about buses, and it's a service that people who don't have a car or access to a car or don't want to drive every day and add to carbon emissions themselves will need a good service to get about. And I've used these services. I've used bus services in my own life to get to work and so on. And you have to have a sort of empathy with people that need these services. A lot of people don't need a bus. A lot of people don't need social services. They don't need children's services, don't need youth services themselves. But if we don't have support networks in place, then society starts to get a bit worse in some ways. Crime, neglect, all sorts of adverse effects appear as if by magic, but actually that's because the support networks aren't there. I'm not saying we should all become a socialist state or anything, absolutely not, but there's a decent level of council services that you should have to help communities thrive, including road. It's very different from other places, very different from Frome in some respects, but it does need attention.
You mentioned empathy and you mentioned road. How do you think you're going to, you live in Frome, which is only up the road.
10 minutes away.
10 minutes away, a bus journey away, most of the time anyway. How do you think you're going to get in touch with the local issues in road and represent road in Taunton?
Well, from a start, you basically reading the Parish Council minutes is a start, and talking to parish councillors such as yourself is also a sort of a minimum, really. And then you talk to people in the street and you knock on doors and you get feedback from people. And so what? Because I think at road, the Parish Council is very strong. It's really good to have Parish Council, and that's the main voice official voice for the village and the parish. But then down the level down from there's local groups, and so on. But there's individuals actually talking to people. I haven't done that as yet. I'm not a councillor here. I'm just starting out on the campaign. A few weeks left. But what I've done in my own ward when I've become a councillor, I start an email distribution list, a newsletter. It's been going 10 years now. And I've got hundreds of people who get an email from me, and the purpose of that is to update them on official council business that affects the area. There's a development coming in here, there's a policy change here, and ask people what they think of that, and to let them know, to inform and engage, but also get feedback. And get feedback on I've got 150 eyes and ears on the ground, in my patch, that lets me know what's going on pretty quickly. I think quicker than most. All across the board, so that would be extended to road, and I'll be advertising my email address and asking people to sign up and allow me to email them with useful, interesting things about what's going on, as well as giving the parish council updates and parish councillors updates at meetings. So it's engaging, really. If you don't engage or have time to listen to people, then you really won't know what's going on. If you don't listen to people, you won't understand.
Well, we
what's going on.
do have a very lively Facebook page, which this interview is going to go on to.
Hi.
And Linda Oliver has been very good in the way that she's attended our parish council meetings. Do you think you'll be able to attend most of them?
I'll be able to attend some, of course, yes. I know that no county councillor has attended all of them, I expect, last few months particularly. And there was always other pressures. Sometimes it's clashes with the council that you're on, or even family life. But yes, of course, there's either a written update required or an attendance in person. It depends on probably depends on the agenda to some extent. But yes, I'd say it's only 10 minutes away, and it's a priority. You're going to need to do it. It's once a month, isn't it?
Yeah. Adam, thank you very much. It's clearly going to be a very hectic time over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and that's just the beginning.
Yes, the nerves are starting to, we're all starting to shake a bit, I think, the amount of work involved.
Yeah, and then down to Taunton on a fairly regular basis if you get elected. We'll have to see what happens on May the 5th, but good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.